Guys, what's up? Darcy here at 6 Strings 9 Lives. Welcome to episode 36 of 6 with 6 Strings. Today I put together a small list of 6 bands. Title, bands that I rarely listen to anymore. That's what we'll throw up there. We don't want to get too clickbaity on that title. These aren't 10 fucking bands I hate or anything like that. And I want to be crystal clear, I'm not here to shit on any of these 6 bands. These bands have been in my collection for years and years. Actually, there's one gateway band here we're going to talk about, one of my gateways into hard rock and metal, which I will put in the title because you don't want to get corrected in the comments because that will happen. Anyways, we're here to have fun. I create these episodes. These are just for pure interaction with you guys, you letting me know today some bands that you haven't listened to in a long time. And I'm not talking certain albums. I'm talking about full-on bands that you haven't got to, in a year or two, or in my case, there's probably some that are here 5 or 6 years I haven't listened to. And maybe even a couple of bands that you've never even seen me talk about on this channel. So I made a couple of notes. Like I said, I'm not here to shit on any of these bands. I don't hate any of them. I'm sure there's more. Definitely, this is only 6. A small a small sample size. When you have a larger collection, how are you getting to all of it anyways? There's only so much time in a day, a week, a year. And the one thing that gets me onto bands, sometimes I'll do a ranking video, so that will get me on a certain kick of a band. And even if it isn't a ranking video, I will still go on these certain kicks where I want to listen to, all the Scorpions albums or all the Omen albums, which this band could have easily been on this list. I haven't listened to Omen in a long time. I got my favorite Omen album cranking in the background, Warning of Danger. Anyways, let's get started. And like I said, I am not here to shit on your favorite band, but there's been some big gaps in my listening where I haven't listened to these bands. So first one, we're going to go with probably a band that you haven't seen much of on here, but this was my first brand new release back in 1992 for this band called Pantera. This is Vulgar Display of Power. I mean, I don't need to tell you that. I just haven't listened to Pantera much over, this would probably be going on 4 or 5 years. I don't know. I think in 92 when this came out, and then I backtracked and got Cowboys from Hell. And at that point, of course, I didn't even know that 4 other albums existed. I probably didn't even know that till, who knows, 10 years ago. And then moving on to 94. So probably 92 to 94 was when I was really into Pantera. And then my next new release was, of course, Far Beyond Driven. Cowboys from Hell, great album too, this too. But later on, like I said, I discovered these other albums, and I've had them for a long time, but have not listened to them. But I know these two are pretty awesome. Whether you call it glam, hair metal, phase, but there's some of these, well, I'll show you. Here's 2 that you need to check out. I understand if you're only a certain point Pantera fan, but I'm not. I like these albums, especially these 2 that I'll show you. And I am going to put these on the spin list because it's been a while. So here's I Am the Night. This one came out in what? 85. Last album with Terry Glaze. That's his stage name. But this is really good. Like I just really enjoy this. This is almost where this is a transitional album to me. You're starting to hear hints of what they're going to do in the future. I mean, Dimebag, what a guitar player. On here, the solos, things like that. Actually, at this point, I enjoy this more than, the later work. The actual, when they actually said, hey, we are a band. Because like I said, I didn't know about any of these albums. But if you've never heard this, go check it out. Yeah, the cover is god-awful. But, Pantera, I Am the Night. So that's the last one to feature Terry Glaze on vocals. And then Phil joins the band, and then here's the lineup that you know. And this is like, Phil's vocals are like Halford-like on this one. Power metal. This today is my favorite Pantera album. And, you know, to some of you, you might be like, you know, you're an idiot, but I just love this album. It's, like I said, it's got those soaring Halford vocals, those highs. The guitar work on here is phenomenal, you know, and then Rex and Vinny. But yeah, check this out. And another shit cover, but these are bootleg CDs, both of these. I don't think these have ever been released on CD, but I don't know. I'm in the camp of somebody in the Pantera family should maybe get these reissued. There are people that do want to hear them, and like I said, I do understand if you don't want any part of these, but yeah, these two are pretty awesome. So Pantera, have not listened to, especially 90 to whatever, actually, because after Far Beyond Driven, the last two albums, I don't go to them. Well, I bet you it's been literally years since I've listened to those last two albums. But moving on, we will talk about Queensryche. There's a band that I haven't listened to in a long time. You know, maybe bits and pieces, but seriously went through their catalog, probably not since I did a ranking video. I'll just quickly show you my two favorite Queensryche albums right here. The Warning and Rage for Order. Absolutely love these albums. Yes, I know all about Operation Mindcrime. Definitely up there. Not debating that. Bought that brand new on release day in '88 on cassette. But for me, if I want... Now there's a gap that I do have a full discography of Queensryche, but I'm almost at the point where I think from right after here in the Now Frontier, so from Q2K to Dedicated for Chaos, I think I'm probably going to let those 5 albums go. I just don't listen to them. And that Covers album, which I don't think I've ever really heard it front to back. That period of Queensryche is just dull and boring to me. Like I said, this is where it's at. And, you know, right up until, you know, Promised Land is great. Here in the Now Frontier has some good tracks. But after that, it's just stuff I don't go to. I do like some of the newer stuff with Todd La Torre. They've already done 4 albums. Here's actually their latest from, when did this one come out? 2019, The Verdict. There's nothing wrong with this album too, but I am just, I don't know, maybe I'm just stuck in the 80s, but I just love those first, well, and the EP. You got to throw the EP in there because it is absolutely essential Queensryche. And like I said, essential Queensryche, maybe up to Empire, Promised Land. After that, but if I want some Todd La Torre, this is what I go to. His solo album from 2020, what was this, 2022 or 2021? I forget, maybe in 2021, I think. Rejoice in the Suffering. This is what I go to for Todd La Torre. I think he's a fantastic singer. He's, you know, he can pull off most of the Jeff stuff. The voices are similar and stuff, but this is what I go to. Even I put this above anything that he's done with Queensryche. This is just a pure, awesome metal album. So if you've never heard it, check that out. All right, moving on. What do we got still? Let's go to... So yeah, I still might unload that portion of the Queensryche catalog. And here's a band that I did unload a whole bunch of stuff from Slang right to the self-titled, and you know it's Def Leppard. But essentially for me, if you told me I only could have 2 Def Leppard albums in my collection for the rest of my days, this is truly all I would need. That is High and Dry and Pyromania, which is my introduction. Yeah, I know the drum sound, things like that, but this is a great album. I love it. Like, I mean, you know, one of my favorite tracks is a deep track, Billy's Got a Gun. I mean, stuff like that is just phenomenal. And my favorite Def Leppard song, which is the lead-off track to High and Dry, is called Let It Go. This is honestly all I would need from Def Leppard. After Steve Clark passed away, yeah, things changed. Euphoria, is it Euphoria or is it Adrenalize? Sorry, has a couple of good tracks, and you know they do have the Clark name on them. But there is a couple of good tracks on that album. But after, and I'm not saying Hysteria is not essential. That's not leaving my collection. I'm just saying if I could only pick two, those would be the two. On Through the Night, yeah, not as good as what I've just shown you, in my opinion. But I would definitely keep the first four and some live material, some early live material of Def Leppard, and that's all I would need. It's been years since I've listened to anything from Def Leppard, but if I do, it's those two albums right there, or some, like I said, some early live stuff. But I got rid of Slang right to Def Leppard. I don't even know a song off their new album. What's it even called? Yeah, I don't know. Diamond Star Halo, I think. Yes, haven't even heard it. Just no desire with them. But again, I'm not shitting on the full band, but they definitely have some bumps in the road with their discography. And like I said, they've never been the same since Steve Clark passed away. But yeah, let me know. Are you still into current Def Leppard? Am I missing the boat on any of these albums? Let me know. You know, because I have sold stuff before that I've bought back on rare occasions. But next up, we're going to go with, here's a band that I don't talk about much at all. I have not listened to these guys seriously since their latest album came out in 2019. Saw them live in, I think, 2018. I've actually seen them live 3 times. Talking about Tool. And I'm just going to show you my 2 favorite albums from Tool. They only have 5 studio albums. You know, with Tool, with the gaps in between, like, I mean, it could take forever for me to love an album, but here's 2 that I do love, and that is Lateralis from, what did this come out? 01? Yeah, 2001. I mean, if you're a Tool fan, you know this album. It's not, I don't have to tell you and talk to you about it. But I do like the progressive element with these guys. I feel like Tool is kind of in a category by themselves. I call them metal. I call them progressive metal. That's what I call them. But in a way, they're just kind of off to the side in my collection. You know, just like a band like Rush is kind of in its own world for me too. A big Rush fan, whatever. Anyways, also, here's my favorite Tool album. This is 10,000 Days. And always the packaging and things like that with these guys is very unique. Their newest album, Fear Inoculum, I mean, there was a couple of varieties of that. I don't have any of it on vinyl. Actually, they're a CD band for me, which, no disrespect to CDs, that's not what I mean, but I usually pick my battles with you know, bands that I like, love, and you know what? I'm a Tool fan, and judging by this video, I mean, they're not top tier for me, but I do listen to them every 6 years. But anyways, so there's a couple Tool albums. Let me know if you are a fan of this band. And yeah, hopefully it's not a lifetime in between Fear Inoculum and the next album. I did read somewhere that they were going to try to simplify some songs, you know, make an album that was closer to Undertow. That would be fantastic too. Would definitely like that. All right, 2 more bands to go. And when I was doing that glam hair metal video, whatever, I did have a small short list of other bands that I like that only had, I feel like, had just periods of hair metal or glam metal, whatever you want to say. And Whitesnake was one of them. I held up that ticket that I got to see Whitesnake open for Motley Crue back in '87, was it? But I got thinking, you know what? I have not listened to any Whitesnake in a long time. And truth be told, I am not a big fan of anything that came before Slide It In. And not a big fan of anything that came after Slip of the Tongue. So that leaves 3 albums that I haven't listened to. I shouldn't say, because one of these albums slided in. I did listen to it a couple years ago there was some sort of thread going around that I participated in, and I did listen to Slide It In. But other than that, I haven't really listened to Whitesnake in a long time. So here's the albums that I'm talking about. So that is my intro to Whitesnake. Then you backtrack to my favorite Whitesnake album, and then you move on to Slip of the Tongue. These are all 30th anniversary remix or whatever, reissued CDs. I got all these on cassette, like my original cassettes. But that's it for Whitesnake for me. I do own their newest album, something that I probably haven't even listened to since the year it came out. It's just not something I would go back to, and probably something I really don't need to own. But those 3 albums, that's kind of where it's at. But it's been a long time, so I will put those I'm going to actually put most of these in the pile to spin over the next couple of weeks. And then finally, I said earlier, I had a gateway band, and it's not hard to put it together that Kiss, especially my age, mid-50s, Kiss was a gateway hard rock. I don't know what we called it back then. We didn't care back then. We called it Kiss. Was it hard rock? Was it metal? We didn't give a shit, but it was way back in, let me see, probably Christmas of 1977. My auntie bought me a copy of Destroyer on vinyl. That one is long gone. Have no idea where it is. This is the 45th anniversary of Destroyer. And then I was hooked. So that was like, this came out in 76, so I was hooked in around 77. So I guess technically my first new release would have been Love Gun, but I wouldn't have known that back then. I wouldn't even have known, we didn't keep track of stuff. But, you start shuffling through the records, you're like, oh, here, this is cool. This is a new cover. Must be their new album type of thing. But, at a younger age, you don't know that. You're only, 10, 11 years old. But that's all I owned. I had used my dad's hi-fi, and I only owned a couple Kiss records. It's not like I was some kind of collector. I mean, I was a young kid still, the BMX bike, playing hockey, playing sports, shit like that. So Kiss was just kind of a whatever on the side. But I remember just staring at this cover over and over and listening to this and knowing every word, things like that. And but yeah, I don't know if I said earlier, when I do ranking videos, I go on a big thing. I think the Kiss ranking I did a couple years ago, but it's been a long time since I listened to any Kiss. Might have to just go on a little Kiss binge here in the next while. And here is one of my very favorite Kiss albums. We'll just hold that up, and a lot of your favorites too. If you like that 80s Kiss, like Lick It Up and Creatures of the Night and, Asylum, stuff like that. This is, like I said, one of my favorites. But so there are 6 bands that I rarely listen to anymore, but it's not like I'm not gonna ever not listen to them again. And like I said, if maybe you're just joining in the video right now, I'm not shitting on any of these bands. They do have some rough patches, but so does, most of the bands in my collection have a rough patch in their discography. But let me know in the comments a few that you can think of that it's been a long time, and maybe some of these bands are, they fall into that category. But hope you enjoyed that one. Until next time, stay heavy.